Okay. So, hi. Uh, Thanks for taking your time and joining this talk. I'll make sure that you'll get, good experience out of it. Uh, Today, I think we are going to talk about that, part of data science, which is uh, less taught and talked. This is about model optimization. Um, so most of the model that we train, 90% of the model uh, don't go to the production, and the ultimate reason for the same is the model is not up to the mark. It's not serving the KPI, and that's where the final touch is required with respect to optimization. Okay, so with this, I'll introduce myself. My name is Sunil Patel. I work with NVIDIA as one of the my KRAs, or one of my work. I work as an optimization scientist. So whatever models like YOLO V3, YOLO V4, whatever model you have heard of, those model when it goes to production, that comes to me before that goes to production, so that I can basically run that model at 500 images per second to 5,000 images per second without compromising the accuracy. And how do I do this? And that's where I'm going to share this ultimate magic of how do I do this. So let's start our session for today. And the second slide is where it's very simple to understand. I mean, uh, we have our preferences. Like, I work with Cafe, you can work with MXNet, or someone could be working with PyTorch. And we all train a model. That model ultimately goes to production, where you will be deploying your model to, autonomous vehicle, or robots, or maybe a self-flying objects like UAVs and other things, right? So this is the ultimate goal. We need to train a model. We need to deploy it to somewhere. And hard reality is 90% of models don't make it to deployments. Okay, and that's where we decided to come up with a SDK that can solve this problem. And we have tried to make this really uh, you know uh, simple as possible. So going forward, I'll be taking two assumptions. First one, that you will be deploying your models on NVIDIA GPUs, uh, because if you'll deploy your model on CPUs, that will be ultimately costly. If you'll count cost comparison between GPU and CPU, that will be, your CPU node will be ultimately costly when it goes to deployments or inference. Okay, so that is the first assumption. And the second assumption that I take over here is that you will be working with any of the listed frameworks like TensorFlow, MXNet to Pedal. We ultimately support 7 or 8 frameworks. We don't support some of the initiative that smaller companies or maybe companies takes in the R&D. So ultimately, we support these 7 framework, and that covers 99% of developers who are working with deep learning and uh, data science, right? So once you develop your model, you just pass that model to the NCERT. That's where magic will happen, and that magic will give you a optimized model, and that model you will be able to deploy to any of your chip, which could be a discrete GPU like A100. It could be a small Raspberry Pi or a credit card kind of device, just like Jetson family of device, or could be a, you can directly deploy it to self-driving car. So once you convert your model, it is kind of, you can deploy it anywhere. So change the model as per the device and other thing, that is itself, so this is how TensorRT work. And the it does. So first of all, whenever we train our model, it's not it's not optimized. That means, whenever we train our model, it has a weights available which are no more. For example, we have a nodes for the backward propagation, right? and that is no more required in the inference, because in the inference we'll be doing only forward propagation. So that is the first thing we get rid of. Then there are blocks like convolution layer, ReLU, and mesh normalization kind of blocks. So we can fuse these blocks. Fusing the block means, what we we take a data, we calculate convolution operation, then we put the result out, and then again that result will go to the mesh normalization, and so on and so forth. It will go to all the operations, and then we'll be giving output each time. And this IO actually takes time. So what we do, we just take one input, we calculate 3 or n operations, and then we give output. Okay, this is the second kind of optimization that we do. There is a third kind of optimization, which is like, you whenever you train model, you train generally in FP32 precision, but that's what is not required when you deploy your model. So what happens when you want to deploy your model for inference? You can just downcast that particular precision to FP16 or even in 8, and without losing your accuracy, you will be able to you'll be able to inference at a 4x or 8x speed. So that's a third level of optimization. Such we do 7 to 8 layer level of optimization, and then we give that model out to you so that you get the best out of that model. Okay, so this is everything is supported. So whenever you try to deploy your next model, just don't get your model from PyTorch or TensorFlow and drop it in the Flask API and then deploy it. Just go and see how you can optimize with TensorRT and how you can deploy. So you can get best out of your hardware. The second wonderful thing that we have done in the TensorRT version 6 or 7, 6, yes, 6, is that we have made it compatible with ONNX. ONNX is an open network exchange. So we train a model in TensorFlow, PyTorch, or MXNet. We can bring all these models to ONNX. ONNX is an open network exchange. So once you bring your model from TensorFlow to ONNX, you can go from ONNX to PyTorch. So it provides a kind of a central representation of the model that is accepted by all the frameworks, so that tomorrow you require to train your model with some other framework, you just can exchange between frameworks. And we have taken advantage of the same, so anybody can come to ONNX. We have taken the ONNX representation, and then that ONNX representation we are giving to TensorRT. So anybody who is using these popular frameworks can be able to take advantage of TensorRT. And as we speak, this is widely adopted. This is just not new experiment. It's adopted by to the date we have 2.5 million downloads, 350 plus 350K developers are currently working on it. And companies like American Express, Naver, KLA are already using these optimizations in their deployment. So this is highly reliable one. And if you have heard about MLPerf inference result, so NVIDIA is achieved rank 1 in that, and that is because of TensorRT, because we have optimized all the models with TensorRT, and we have put fourth in the competition, and nobody could perform better than that. So that way also, if you want to take this framework, like is the best in world that exists, nothing can beat as of now. And once you optimize your model with TensorRT, I think your model will be guaranteed to be the best performant one. We have just now announced TensorRT 8, which is 8th version of TensorRT, 8th major version. We have some minor updates like 8.1.2 or 8.1.3, something like that always happens. But we have now announced a major update in the TensorRT, and that inherently supports large model like BERT. BERT can be inferenced within 1.2 milliseconds. So that means BERT can be there in the central compute zone of your company, And now whatever embeddings are generated by BERT, that can be given to all your other models, like, sentiment analysis, question answering, or summarization, or something like that. And that's why BERT is a central thing, and that's why it requires to be the highest, performing component in the pipeline. And that's why we have made sure that, we do that kind of optimization. So BERT is now inferenceable in 1.2 milliseconds, versus when I started working with BERT in 2017, 18, it was like, single BERT inference could take around, 300 to 400 milliseconds. So that is the level of improvement that we have done. Second thing is sparsity. So once you plot your all the weights in the network, you will realize that all the weights are sparse. Sparsity means, majority of weights are below zero, and near to zero, and some of the weights are just like, near to one or above 0.5. So in this kind of whenever you have a large matrix, sparse matrix, it tends to take time, and that's where we have written a algorithm that can deal with this sparsity, so that, you can compress the sparse matrix, you can transfer it within the memory, and you can compute it, and then the sparsity will allow you to, take a great advantage of your bandwidth usage. So that's how we have also optimized how your, big matrices passes from RAM to your, VRAM, and then VRAM to GPU. So that's how we have made sure that, whenever you deal with large data set, you get the best in time operation. Third thing is quantization aware training. So what happens when you train your network in FP32 and then you try to inference with int8? So you are just getting rid of all the floating points, and that affects accuracy. We have found that it affects accuracy 1 to 2%, but we were not good with 1 to 2% accuracy decrease. But we wanted to make sure that, accuracy should stay the same. So NVIDIA contributed to quantization aware training, and we have found out way where we can, train while training. We can, make the network aware of that. This network is going to be deployed in int8 precision, and that's why you need to make sure the network need to make sure that when it will, we will convert it to int8 network, it should, provide the same accuracy, and that's how we do quantization aware training. That is also inbuilt within the NCERT. So, if you have trained your network with PyTorch quantization aware training or TensorFlow quantization aware training, that is compliant with the NCERT, and that's how you will be able to take advantage of int8 inference without any decrease in accuracy. But int8 inference will provide you kind of 8x to 10x kind of boost up on your compared to your original FP32 node. And it's very simple. So for example, for TensorFlow, when I want to convert it to TensorRT, it's just a 4-stage procedure. You have a saved model, you have PB model like protocol buffer model. Then you load that model, you convert to TF-TRT, okay, and then you just predict. It's simple. It's just a 4-stage operation. Once you do this, you have the best in class model, the model that is more performant than any of the models, and then you can better deploy this model. As I said, I mean, we are compliant with ONNX, which is Open Network Exchange for models. You can use TensorRT in C++, in Python. We have made sure that whenever you use with C++ or Python, it's super compliant. This is what we had also discussed, that it's quantization aware. So whenever you train your network in FP32, but still your network knows that it is going to be converted to int8, and once you convert it to int8, it will not drop the accuracy. Sparsity support also we have discussed, and to enable sparsity support, we just require 2 lines. So first of all, whenever we are training our network, we need to make sure that we do a proper import, and then we use a proper trained network API, and we pass that model and optimizer, so that optimizer and model both will be taken into consideration for sparsity aware operations. And the last thing that we have optimized is transformer, because transformer is a base to all the networks like BERT or Elmo or GPT, or any kind of modern NLP network are based on transformers. So we have done our best optimization with transformers. Here also we have fused some of the operations so that we get best in time performance. And if you want to use transformer as it is, you can also use it as it is. But transformer, whatever we have done with transformer is ultimately helping bigger networks like BERT and GPT. And if you want to start, it's the best time. You need to go to, just search for NVIDIA TensorRT in your favorite search engine, and then you can just go to installation guide, developer guide, API references, samples. We do have Python, C++ samples, so that you can explore your favorites. And you can again go to some of the resources that we share with GTC. GTC is our GPU Technology Conference that is going to happen in the second week of November. So if you like, you may attend that, and you can get best out of NVIDIA technology. Thank you very much. So with this, I'll take your question, and I'll read out the question loud, and I'll try to answer my best. Okay, so far I have not received any question. If you have any question, it's the best time to ask it. Otherwise, you'll have to search for that. Okay, thank you. Okay, I have received one question. No, it's not compatible with any of the business intelligent models. TensorRT is only compatible with deep learning models. So, not sure. I mean, it's not compatible with BI models. BI models are generally, simple models like regression models, or some of the models based on, rules. So it's not compatible. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for attending this session.